So the big question is, which action camera should you buy now that we have some new ones on the table here? We have the new Action 5 Pro, the GoPro Hero 13, the Ace Pro, the Go 3S, and the Insta360 X4. So let's start with an image quality test and let's see if you can spot the differences between these cameras. Now, which one do you like more? Is it the camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, camera 4, or camera 5? Camera 5 is quite obvious, especially if you're familiar with how a 360 camera works. So this is the X4. So as the camera is tilted down, the X4 stays consistent because I've activated direction lock and 360 horizon lock. So the advantage with the X4 here is that no matter how you move, rotate, or turn the camera, the X4 has the ability to stay perfectly level with the option to change the angle to whatever you want in post later, which is fantastic and one of the reasons I love using a 360 camera. Now, as for all the other cameras here, they are all using identical auto settings with additional sharpness adjustments to make them look more equal, because the sharpness on each of these cameras are a little bit different. So I've done my best to make it as equal as possible in post. And the color profile I set to normal on the Action 5 Pro, natural on the GoPro 13, and standard on the Ace Pro, Go 3S, and the X4. So from the left to right, we have the Action 5 Pro, then the Ace Pro, then the GoPro Hero 13 and the Go 3S, and then all the way to the right side we had the X4. Now I'm curious to know which one you like more and why. To me, they all look pretty good in most of these clips, and it's only when I get into some darker areas I can truly see the differences in performance. But for daylight, whether it's cloudy or not, any of these cameras is going to perform exceptional and it's going to get the job done. However, I do find the Go 3S to be a little bit warmer in some of the clips here, but nothing that I can't adjust in post or correct by using manual white balance. So in terms of color temperature, you can always set your own custom white balance to make it look consistent and better. It's just sometimes, depending on the scenario, depending on the scene, these cameras will change the white balance, which will make some of the clips look a little bit weird, a little bit different, and not so accurate. But like I said, just use manual white balance and everything is solved. Now, when it comes to skin tones though, there is a more personal preference to this, I would say. And I also want to add that this can also be adjusted with white balance correction, either in post or by setting a manual white balance. But looking at the different clips here, the Ace Pro is probably the one that I like more, especially from this hike. GoPro is still a little bit too warm for my taste, and both the Action 5 and the X4 seems a little bit cold in this scenario. But of course, nothing that I can't adjust in post or correct by using a manual white balance. Now, when it comes to specs, I'll just leave most of them on the screen here so you can see, but if you want to dive a little bit deeper into each of these cameras here, I will leave a link to each of them down in the description below, including a dedicated review on these cameras, so make sure to check those out as well. But what's new with the Action 5 Pro here is that we now have a new improved sensor. So we have the same sensor size as the Action 4, but with better optimization and a new 4nm chip, which is making the Action 5 Pro a lot more capable in low light compared to the previous model, the Action 4. And this improved sensor does also add a huge amount of dynamic stops, so 13.5 stops of dynamic range now, which means that you will be able to maintain more details in the highlights and the shadows, and that's one of the reasons the Action 5 is going to be the main go-to action camera for those that wants to color grade or do color matching with action cameras, and people that already have other DJI products like the Mini 4 Pro or the Air 3. Now, when it comes to the GoPro Hero 13, I was honestly pretty disappointed this year because it has minor upgrades which could have been added to the GoPro Hero 11 with a firmware update. So we have the same sensor, the same processor, and the same aperture coming from the GoPro Hero 11, which gives you the exact same video quality as, you guessed it, Hero 11. Also Hero 10. So the only changes in terms of actual image quality improvement on the GoPro Hero 13 this year is color accuracy, I would say. We also have HLG HDR now, but if you want to enable HDR, it's not said that HLG will be applied. You first have to enable HDR and then scroll your way down until you find the HLG option, which took me some time to realize actually, but I mean, when I've set everything up, I can just make a custom profile, and the next time I want to use HDR with HLG, I can just change over to that picture profile. But with the Action 5 Pro, on the other hand, it's much easier. And because everything is so conveniently placed, I haven't really felt the need of making these custom profiles, which is fantastic. And the GoPro Hero 13 does also have a log profile now, which we have with the Hero 12, but this time it's an actual log profile and not some fake stuff we saw with the GoPro 12, where the log was just, you know, a faded, vibrant color profile, and HDR was something, I guess. But when it comes to this log profile on the Hero 13, this actually looks pretty amazing. So I can see myself using this a lot in the future when I record videos with the GoPro 13. Now, let's take a look at some low light clips. Now, even though these clips are not shot side by side, they are all captured in the same lighting conditions and gives you an indication of how they perform in a low light. But for some reason I couldn't find the clips that I captured on my X4, but this hiking clip here gives you an idea as the light is pretty bad. And to be honest, it performs exceptionally well in 8K 30 FPS in such a poorly lit environment. But for those times I'm shooting low light videos, I would prefer to use a different camera anyway, like the Action 5 Pro or the Ace Pro, which both has a dedicated low light feature and of course a larger sensor, which is making the image look much better. But I must admit the X4 doesn't look bad at all. Now, when it comes to audio, I'm just going to roll some clips here where the audio is captured with each of these cameras, and I also think this is a better test than doing a pre-planned audio comparison where you set everything up and talk to the camera. So this is more that authentic audio test that you will, the audio quality that you will get if you're going on a hike, for example.
Hei. Mamma, sliter du? Hvordan klarte jeg det? 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 Hei. Mamma, sliter du?
In my opinion, they all sound good, but if you found one to be better than the other one, which one would it be and which one would you pick? Let me know in the comments below. And talking about audio, if you have the DJI Mic 2 transmitters, this is now also compatible with the GoPro Hero 13 as well as the Ace Pro and the X4, of course the Action 5 Pro as well. Unfortunately, with the Go 3S, you will still have to record using the internal storage on the DJI Mic 2 transmitters and then later sync it up in post, but I haven't really found that as an issue or a problem. The workflow is pretty fast anyway. So this is the audio coming from the DJI Mic 2 when it's connected to the GoPro Hero 13, and the mic is sitting inside my helmet here. So how does this compare to the new DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro when we change over to that? So we now change over to the Action 5 Pro. We have the DJI Mic transmitter connected to that as well, and I also changed some settings on the GoPro and the Action 5 here. So we're not using the normal color profile anymore. I've switched over to HLG on the Action 5 Pro 10-bit and also 10-bit HDR HLG on the GoPro Hero 13. When it comes to photos, we have a 9 megapixel photos on the Go 3S, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, but 9 megapixels on the Go 3S, and then we have 27 megapixels on the GoPro Hero 13, 14 megapixel now on the Action 5 Pro, 48 megapixels on the Ace Pro, and 72 megapixels 360 photos on the X4. So there's a huge difference here when it comes to the lowest versus the highest megapixels. But what really matters is how they look and which one you like more. Personally, I really love the new 40 megapixel photos coming from the Action 5 Pro, and I think this is the first time that I've taken more than like 5 photos on a trip, and I've actually sent a few of these photos for print to have here in the studio and replace that one right there. So I'm thinking 3 photos taken with the Action 5 Pro is gonna hang right here, which is gonna look epic. But let's have a look at some side-by-side photos here captured at the highest resolutions with all these cameras. Now, when it comes to features, they all have a lot to offer, and which could make the buying decision even harder. The new Action 5 Pro, for example, has a built-in pressure gauge, altitude display, always on display, super night mode, super slow motion, pre-record, loop record, just to mention a few. Pre-record and loop record is something that you find on these cameras as well. But over to the Ace Pro, this has a dedicated low light mode as well, free frame video, 4K slow motion, clarity zoom, and shoots 8K videos. And the Go 3S is the world's smallest 4K action camera with features like Apple Find My, so you can easily find it if you lose it, and a versatile action pod here, which makes it easy to frame yourself no matter where you place the Go 3 unit itself. You can still use this as a monitor, and it also has this magnetic backplate, so you can easily place it just about anywhere. Now the X4 records 360 videos in 8K and has a single lens mode for point and shoot videos, which requires no post-production editing, and it also has 11K time lapses, and it hides the selfie stick. The GoPro Hero 13 has a new lens collection and a new quick release mount, which was a huge disappointment when I opened the box. And to be honest, one of the reasons I was chasing after getting the GoPro 13 in Hawaii, I really wanted to get my hands on this and test out this easy to use quick release mount, but then later figuring out that, you know, this was not included in the box and I have to pay like $30 to get one. I'm not gonna do that. But with each of these cameras being so different from each other in terms of features and versatility, it would mainly come down to which one you prefer more. I mean, they all look good in daylight. So will you mainly be recording videos in daylight, or will you add some low light as well? And do you need to know how deep you are when you're out snorkeling, or is it just cool to have? And do you want to look like a banana when you use the wildest field of view, or do you prefer this to be corrected in camera with distortion control on the Action 5 Pro? And what about capturing everything at once without having to move the camera from side to side, making everyone watching dizzy? As you can see, it's not straightforward when it comes to choosing an action camera, especially if you're on a budget or you just want one camera and that's it. And if GPS is something you really want, this is now added back into the body of the GoPro Hero 13. Whilst on the other devices here, you would have to buy a separate accessory if you don't have an Apple Watch or a Garmin device, which you can use to transfer and connect via Bluetooth to the devices here and then gather the data from your Apple Watch or Garmin device. And if 10-bit matters to you, only DJI and GoPro has 10-bit in all color profiles, whilst the Ace Pro, Go 3S and the X4 has 8-bit with a flat color profile to offer more dynamic range. And in terms of slow motion, both DJI and GoPro has burst slow motion. So GoPro has burst slow motion up to 400 FPS in 700p and DJI up to 960 FPS in 1080p versus the normal slow motion in 100 FPS and 120 FPS that you get on the Ace Pro, the Go 3S and the X4. But burst slow motion, is it something you really need, or is it just cool that one time? And when it comes to battery life, there has been some improvements on the GoPro 13. It records a little bit more, which is awesome, but it still takes ages to charge. So doing a battery test here inside and outside with all these cameras, the Action 5 Pro was the clear winner and won every single test. And the resolution was 4K 30 FPS, and the Action 5 almost managed to record for 3 hours, which is pretty impressive. But with that said, if you have some airflow to these cameras, meaning that you just step outside, they will all be able to record a video for at least 1 hour, which is probably what most of us need anyway. But as for battery, both runtime and charge time, the Action 5 Pro is the clear winner. Now, when it comes to real life use, there's also quite a few differences between these cameras. So here we have the Go 3S, for example, which easily snaps onto your hat with the included head clip, which is by far the fastest and easiest way to capture POV shots. It also comes with everything you need in the box, and the Go 3 itself is also waterproof down to 10 meters, which is fantastic to have in such a small camera. Now, the X4 shoots 360 videos, which means there's not much to do other than holding the camera in the position you want, and then later you can connect the X4 to the Insta360 Studio app on your your computer or the Insta360 mobile app, and then you can edit, export, and share the videos with endless framing options, something you can't do with any of these other cameras. Now, the Ace Pro, GoPro 13, and the Action 5 Pro here kinda sits in the same boat. They all have a similar form factor, and they all have a screen facing forwards and backwards. However, on the Ace Pro, you will have to flip this screen, which is also pretty convenient. You can just use it like this basically to capture, 15 seconds of video if that's what you need, and you can also do this now hands-free, which is a fantastic little hack on the Ace Pro. What I personally like though is that with both DJI and Insta360 we have this quick release system out of the box, but GoPro has decided to charge for it, which I find a bit odd, especially when you pay $400 for a number change. And because we have a new redesigned battery now on the GoPro 13, the old ones are not compatible with the new one, which is something to take into consideration if you have a lot of batteries laying around. Is it actually worth upgrading to the GoPro Hero 13, which basically provides the exact same image as the GoPro Hero 10 here? So in my opinion, both the Action 5 Pro and the Ace Pro has the advantage here over the Hero 13 in terms of money spent versus what you get. Also, the new Insta360 Ace Pro 2 will be backwards compatible when it comes to batteries, so you can use the Ace Pro batteries with the Ace Pro 2, which is fantastic. So as you can see, choosing a camera is not straightforward like it used to be. GoPro has been ahead for many years and has also been the only one for many years, but now GoPro is falling behind year after year, and something we started seeing when DJI first released their Osmo Action 1. However, I don't want to throw the GoPro 13 under the bus yet. I think it's a little bit early for that because there might be some firmware updates coming in the next couple of weeks, which might add some improvements. But for pure image quality in daylight, I would personally pick the GoPro 13 because it has the most appealing 5.3K high quality image in my opinion, but because it's limited in terms of battery life, features that I actually want and use, compatibility, charge time, and the fact that there's so many things baked into this camera that makes it slower than the Hero 12, I would probably use any of the other cameras, which seems to be more reliable. So is there hope for GoPro, and what would GoPro need to change in order for you to buy it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Or if you just prefer to use the GoPro over any of these other cameras, let me know in the comments below. Now, which of these 5 cameras do you like more? Which one would be your next go-to? Leave your favorite cameras down there as well, and make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a like if you found any value in today's video. So that's gonna be everything for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.